All right. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Uh, we are sorry for coming live late. We're supposed to be here at 7 o'clock UK time, but unfortunately, we had to struggle a bit with the technology we are using. How are you doing, everybody out there? All right, who's here? Who's here first? That is Wycliffe. Hi, Wycliffe. How are you doing? It's a pleasure to see you here today. Hi, Amos. It's a pleasure to be speaking to you live from here. How are you doing? How has your weekend? How has your week been? And I hope you are settling down to rest for the weekend. Hello, Mujabi. It's a pleasure to be meeting you here today. Hope you're doing very well. Great, great. It's a pleasure, everybody, to be here once again. Hi, Ambrose Jolly. It's a pleasure. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for joining us today. Paulsen Bafiwarala, thank you for joining us today. Isma Luero, thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be seeing you here live. All right. Today we are going to be continuing on the same topic that we have been dwelling upon for a long time, which is understanding life. Understanding life. Okay, how much of life have we understood? Our understanding depends on how we are able, how we are able to, to do great works. Is dependent on how we understand life, how we are able to relate well, how we are able to do exploits, how we are able to, to stand out, how we are able to enjoy the peace of mind. It is dependent on how we are able to understand life. Hello, Nicholas Onyango. Hi, Joshua Pandey. Thank you for joining us today. Without much ado, let us kick off. Let's begin. Let's start what we are called here to do. Right. Life is a dialogue. Isn't that an interesting topic? First, when I got the inspiration to talk about this topic, um, it was kind of vague because, of course, how do you want to relate dialogue with life? But after thinking very deep, I came to the understanding like, wait a minute, without the dialogue, there is no life. Without dialogue, there is no life. Okay, so let's begin from where we are. Now, everything in life is a dialogue. You'll be asking me, so what are you trying to say? Well, before we begin, as you are joining us, please, we like this platform to be interactive. It will be interesting if you give us your comments. It will be interesting if you share with us. Don't be tech shy, be tech savvy. I want you to comment, ask questions. I want you to deliberate. Let us deliberate. Yes, it's a live broadcast. We are sharing a topic. I don't know it all, but the truth of the matter is, we are all here to learn on the platform. Okay. Also, please share to your friends and let them join us. And let's see how people can benefit from this platform. Thank you very much. So everything begins with a dialogue. If you look from the very beginning, the story of creation is a dialogue. All right. By the way, every creativity you see anywhere, any day, anytime, in any place is as a relationship or an interrelationship between different minds, different concepts, different ideas, different values, different intentions. Okay? And then what you see, we see is the result of a product of dialogue. The result of the product of dialogue. So it is very, very important that we understand that life is a dialogue. Great. Now, even if you look into the Holy Book, the Bible, God Himself, the author of life, He Himself had to have a dialogue before anything was made. He Himself had to have a dialogue before anything was made. All right? Because you see, He sat down, after a process of thought, assessment, and vision. His different personality came together, and after a time the question came, all right, what can we do? What can we do? And then they agreed together, and then He said, let us now make man in our own image, after our own likeness, and let him rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the fish of the beasts of the field, and every creeping thing that creeps on the face of the earth. The making of you and I is as a result of dialogue. Every great thing that you see is a product of dialogue. Okay? You and I are a product of dialogue. Without life, there is no dialogue. Without dialogue, there is no life. Okay, I'll proceed. Now, look at a seed. A seed is just a seed. It has the ability. It has the ability to give life. All right? But it is as dead as it can be when you throw it around. But when life wants to begin, you just throw the seed into the ground. And then there has to be a dialogue between the seed and the earth. And what do you see? It's a plant. That is it. Life is a dialogue, isn't it? Now, the sun has to have a dialogue with the earth, with the seas, with the atmosphere. And after a while, the product of that dialogue is rain. Without the sun having a dialogue with the earth, there is no rain. So everything requires a dialogue. If the sun refuses to have a dialogue with the earth, there is no rain. If the sun is angry with the earth, there is no rain. If the earth does not respond to the messages of the sun, there is no rain. That is why everything that we see in life has to have a dialogue to really produce a good result. All right. Every intentional and non-intentional project, business, relationship, vision, fit, performance, goals, they're all born out of dialogue. Let me make something clear to all of us. Life is a dialogue. After having a deep thought, I came to understand that even there is nothing like a monologue when it comes to life. Life is a dialogue. You know, a monologue is when someone is talking alone, right? Okay. Now let's go into, if you look at an actor, if an actor is on stage, if you see the movies, the actor is speaking alone. Now, how interesting whatever he is saying is, how engaging whatever he or she is saying is dependent on the conflicts in his mind. And when you have conflicts, then a dialogue is going on. When you have conflicts, a dialogue is going on. Without a conflict, then there is no dialogue. If an actor is speaking, how beautiful his voice is, how he is able to manipulate his voice is not as important as the meaning that he is producing. And if he is producing a meaning without conflict, then it doesn't really make sense. All right. But when there are conflicts in his speech, when he's expressing something, then we begin to understand. Then we begin to come to the page that he is in. All right. Life is a dialogue. Okay. Now, if you look all around you, everything requires a dialogue. For things to really prosper, for things to really make sense, for things to really, be what they ought to be, then a dialogue is necessary. What dialogue are we talking about? Two minds have to relate with each other. Two different views have to be weighed. Two different personalities have to look at the same thing in different ways. Because there is no island anywhere. Even an island has fishes swimming in it. There is a communication going on. The land is communicating with the earth. With the water, sorry. The trees are communicating with the water. The animals are communicating with the land. The solar system, they are communicating with each other. If they are not communicating with each other, we are done for. We have electricity today. It's as a result of a product called dialogue. It is very, very important for us to understand that without a dialogue going on, there is no life. I don't want to ask you that question, what is life? Because by now you should know what life is. But the truth of the matter is, I want to take a quote from a scholar whose name simply is Bakhtin. He expresses dialogue this way, and I'll use that to quickly have this talk with us. He said, to live means to participate in a dialogue, to ask questions, to heed, to respond, to agree, and so forth. In this dialogue, a person participates wholly and throughout his whole life with his lips, with his eyes, with his hands, with his soul, with his spirit, with his whole body and deeds. He invests his entire life, his entire self in discourse. How brilliant. I'll take it again. Bakhtin said, he said it, and I quote, to live means to participate in a dialogue, to ask questions, to heed, to respond, to agree, and so forth. In this dialogue, a person participates wholly and throughout his whole life with his lips, with his eyes, with his hands, with his soul, with his spirit, with his whole body and deeds. He invests his entire self in discourse. Aha, Mr. Jones is saying here, innovation and creativity is a result of dialogue. Brilliant. Now you are getting it. Brilliant. Now you are getting it. Okay, great. Now, let us try to analyze this quote by Bakhtin. I'm sure you saw the announcement about the program, the live broadcast, right? Life is a dialogue. You must have seen the picture that is dancing. Okay, great. What do you find in the picture? It is a question. It is an icon, right? People, human beings, formed an icon. An icon of a dialogue, right? Of speech. Okay, good. To dialogue means to ask questions. That's the first thing that you must understand about dialogue. To dialogue means to ask questions. Now, many of us do not like asking questions. We don't like asking questions because of how we think other people will look at us. Some of us, we think probably to ask questions means that maybe we are ignorant, maybe we are stupid, or maybe we cannot reason with our minds. Some of us think some of us don't like asking questions because we don't even want to think. We don't want to think at all. All right? Thinking for us is a complicated act. Okay? And it leaves us with burdens. That is for some of us. Okay? It's okay. Some of us don't like asking questions because we don't like to explore. We don't like to create. We don't like to innovate. Meanwhile, these are what the world calls development. To create, to explore, to innovate. These are what the world, calls development. Some of us think questions lead us to problems, and problems begets more trouble. And in order not to start a trouble, it's better just to shut up. Well, it may interest us that actually questions are not bad after all. In fact, it is very, very good to ask questions. Because if we do not ask questions, we do not receive any answers. if we don't inquire, we don't find. If we don't brainstorm, of course we brainstorm with questions, right? If we don't brainstorm, we don't get flooded with solutions. We ask questions really because there is a problem. There's a misunderstanding. There's something that needs to be tweaked. Okay? The interesting thing is, many of us are running away from problems, okay? But first, maybe we need to understand that problems are not what we think they are. Why do I say so? Okay? Number one, problems are designed for progress. Problems are designed for progress. But in our understanding, we see problems as a mountain that needs to be, to be surmounted. Meanwhile, problems are special. When there is a problem, it means progress. It means, there is a need for development. When you see problems, don't run away from problems. Because problems begets progress. If there is no problem, everybody will lie down. Everybody will be enjoying the sun. Everybody will be, sunbathing. Everybody will be, enjoying their time. When there's a problem, we begin to think. But we as human beings, we see problems as obstacles to we enjoying ourselves. But meanwhile, problems are designed for progress. Number two thing I want us to quickly understand about problems is that problems come like threats to us. When there's a problem, it seems as if it is attacking our emotions. It seems as if it is attacking our minds. Our body wakes up. Our mind wakes up. Our emotions wake up. We say, oh, what kind of problem is this? But meanwhile, even though problems comes like threats, they are meant to wake our mental faculty up. Okay? Just imagine if you want to wake up someone who is sleeping. How do you wake a person up? Do you say, hello, good morning, how are you? Or do you tap the person? Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's time to go to school. Wake up. It's time to go to work. Wake up, wake up. So problems comes like threats. But we human beings, we respond with stress. It ought not to be. Number three idea I want us to quickly understand about problems is that problems are actually opportunities in disguise. They are opportunities in disguise. Wrapped up in every problem is an opportunity. An opportunity to learn, an opportunity to know, an opportunity to relate, opportunity to rethink, to reassess, to reevaluate, opportunity to look at something in a very dynamic way. Okay? So, but how do we respond to problems? We guide against problems. So in case this problem comes, this is what I will do. In case that problem comes, this is what you will do. This is, some of us cannot even sleep because we are trying to guide against problems, which is somehow good, but we have to just have the understanding that problems are actually there as opportunities in disguise. Number 4 point I want us to quickly understand about problems, because if we don't understand problems, then we will not understand dialogue. And without dialogue, there's no life. Okay? Problems require a network of solutions. Problems require a network of solutions. Hello, Brother Paul. How are you doing? Hope you're enjoying a nice time over there. By the way, your videos are really blessing us here. God bless you, sir. Sister June says, problems and challenges are an opportunity to bring out the gifts, talents, and abilities God has given us. So let us embrace them. Yes. Thank you very much, Sister June. Okay, I said problems require a network of solutions, but people heap responsibility on themselves. When someone has a problem, it doesn't mean that you should take all the burdens on yourself. It's an opportunity to relate with others. Okay? It's an opportunity to relate with others. And then you form a network. You can never be an island anywhere. The answer that you are looking for is just a phone call away. It's just, a knock on the door away. It's just by opening your mouth and speaking forth and speaking to someone, by relating, by making friends, by joining a community, by having a network. I guess some of us, the reason why some of us are still struggling is because we're not in the right network, or we don't even have a network. So if there's a problem, it requires us having a network, because that is what life is all about. Actually, life is a dialogue. Life involves different minds. Life involves different perspectives, different ways, different things, different people. Just think of it. If God had only made Adam, that means the man Adam will have grown so old, with beards everywhere. All the animals will be multiplying and he will be the only person. But God understood the reason for dialogue. And he had to make a woman. Even Adam himself was tired, was weary, and God saw that and he had to make a woman. Great. So we have to understand problems in order to understand dialogue, so that we can really be living life as we should. The fifth point about problems is that problems needs a process. Problems needs process. Problems don't just start now and ends now. No. Problem needs time. It could extend for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, 5 decades, name it. Okay? But problems requires time. Whatever kind of problem that is going on, it needs time. But what we are always doing is that as a problem comes, we want to quickly solve it. Let us not be in a haste to quickly solve a problem, because every problem itself is a message. Every problem itself is a message. And if it comes as a message to us, what we need to do is to first decode the message that the problem is bringing. We understand it, so that we're able then to do what we ought to do. If you don't mind, let me have a sip from my tea. Thank you. Thanks to my wife who made this nice tea for me. All right. Problem needs a process, but we human beings need quick solution. The next point is a problem is a direction to a destination. A problem is a direction to a destination. What do I mean? When there is a problem, it is actually giving us a sign. It is coming as a compass to lead us into something new, to show us something new, to direct us to somewhere new. Do you know because of a problem, some people need to travel from one country to the other? Because problems are actually a direction to destination, to a destination. But we human beings, we loved our comfort zone. That is why we don't like problems at all. We want to just be at peace. We want to just stay in one place. We want to just remain as we are. Meanwhile, God himself designed problems this way so that we can move, so that there can be life. Without problem, there is no life. Great. Let's see. My wonderful wife is saying problems need process, time, in order to understand the message behind it and get a solution. Okay? Yeah. Now, quickly, I want to mention the few other points and then we quickly wrap it up. Problems are meant to stretch us. Problems are meant to stretch us. Okay, let me use this example. If you look at without the plant, without you planting something in the ground, there is no life, right? Okay? When you put a plant in the ground, what you are doing is you are pressurizing it. And when you pressurize the seed in the ground, what happens is it stretches its ability. It challenges its ability to be able to reproduce. When there is poverty, when there is a problem, people begin to think. People begin to look for a problem, for a solution. It stretches us. It makes us go an extra mile in what we are doing or what we know. It makes us to research. It makes us to ask questions. It makes us to do so many things. Why? Because problems are meant to stretch us. But we human beings, we love to just be compact, to stay as we are. We don't want to expand. Two more points about problems, and then we go on. Problems require our minds. But when we see problems, we respond with our emotions. Problems require faith. But we human beings, when we see problems, we lose hope. All right? Now, these are the few points I want us to quickly understand about problems so that we can be able to, respond appropriately when problems come. Because when there's a problem, there has to be a dialogue. All right? And when there's dialogue, there's life. Questions, as we said, are just what we need to ask. If we don't ask, we don't know. If we don't know, we are lost, we are in darkness, we are at the mercy of other people. Questions are necessary to start asking. So let's start asking questions. All right, now let's go back to our first quote by Bakhtin. The first point we made from Bakhtin is that a dialogue is life, right? So to dialogue means to ask questions. In the same quote, another point we can draw out is that dialogue means to heed. To heed, H-E-E-D, to heed. To heed means to listen. Okay? Now, listening is an art. The same way many people don't like asking questions, especially good questions, important questions, it's also the same way so many people don't like to listen. Why? Because listening is also daunting. It's also challenging. Okay? Now, listening is something that needs to be practiced all the time. And why did I say practice? Because most of the time, what we do is not listening. What we do is hearing. And there's a big difference between hearing and listening. There's a big difference between hearing and listening. Now, the reason why we have disagreements, the reason why we have wars, misconceptions, disagreements, even divorce, is as a result of someone not listening. Someone having a deficiency in listening. Somebody may be listening, but is deficient in his art of listening. Now, it is either we are not listening or we seem to be listening but not doing it well, not decoding it well. Now, I want to give us a quick, analogy here. Now, when there is, for example, when there is a quarrel between couples, okay, the wife tells her husband, you're not listening. You don't listen. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this. You don't listen. You don't listen. And the husband is so angry. What do you mean I'm not listening? But I am doing this. But I am doing that. I am. The important thing is there is a quarrel. All right. Now, maybe the husband is not listening. What he is doing is hearing. Maybe he's just hearing what the wife is saying. Maybe he's not listening. Now, what is the difference between hearing and listening? When we hear sounds. Right? When we hear, we distinguish between sounds, different kind of sounds. Okay? We hear words. Okay? We are able to get the tones, the different kind of tones. Okay? All right? But when we listen, listening is a step further away from hearing. What do I mean? When you listen, you hear. You hear the sounds. You hear the words. You hear the tones. All right? Then you try to figure out what the person is saying. You inquire, you assess, and you confirm what the person is has encoded, okay, or is trying to say. So I'll give you an example. So if your wife comes to you and says something, the man must hear what the wife has said. He must put it into consideration the emotions she used in saying it. He must also try to figure out where she is coming from. He must not stop there because the journey has just begun. He must inquire from her exactly what she meant by what she has said. Then he must evaluate it in his mind. Evaluate the whole process in his mind. Okay? And then come back to her again and say, sorry, is this what you meant by what you have said? To really be sure if he has really understood her message. If he doesn't do this, he's not listening. So listening is an art, actually. Listening is an art. When we are listening to people in a dialogue, we have to go through this process. In fact, when a dialogue is going on and we don't practice listening, two people will eventually quarrel or fight each other. They will fight each other because they are not understanding each other. And the reason why we need to ask questions while we are listening is because we need to be sure of what we are getting as a message. If we don't do that, there will always be a quarrel. There will always be a fight. And some of us may not be too patient to understand each other. If that happens, then it's as a result of we not understanding dialogue. The moment we understand dialogue, then we are making sense. We're making life. Life is becoming real to us. Okay? So, it seems to be a long process, but it is worth it. Because dialogue is an ongoing activity. Dialogue is an ongoing activity. An interesting thing is this life also is an ongoing activity too. Life is also ongoing. Right now, we are where we are. We think, for example, I am sitting here at this very location. Whoever you are sitting there, or you are standing or doing whatever it is that you are doing at your own location. But the interesting thing is, the world is moving. We think we are in one point, but the world is moving. actually we are not here. Physically we are seeing each other, but actually we are we are moving around. Okay? So life's an ongoing thing. So also is dialogue. Dialogue may, may stop for a while, but it is stopping for the process of understanding or response to continue. And then it goes on again. So dialogue is really, really important when it comes to life. Next point I want to make mention from Bakhtin's quote is dialogue leads to agreement. Dialogue leads to agreement. Now, why am I mentioning all these things? I'm mentioning them because we need to really understand what dialogue is all about. Then we'll be able to understand what life is all about. Because there are relationships that needs to be preserved. Relationships that needs to exist to be able to make meaning. All right? Okay? Your ideas need to go along with each other. And when there is no proper dialogue, you may not get the product you're looking for. Okay? So, when you are a leader somewhere, and you have people leading, you are leading, if you're not engaging in a dialogue with your followers, then there will be a problem. Okay? If you're a father somewhere, you're not relating with your children, you're not having a dialogue with them, you have a problem. If your soul is not in dialogue with your spirit and your body, then there will be a problem. The person will end up in a psychiatric hospital. Okay, that's why it is very, very important that we have it. We engage in a dialogue, because dialogue is about life. Dialogue leads to agreement. And the truth of the matter is, agreement is not always when both sides are satisfied. Agreement means there is a compromise to be made. But the compromise is what is done by a party engaged in the dialogue so that the other person can win. All right? When the other person wins, he should also understand that next time, the one who has compromised for the other person to have his way will also be given a chance as well. Life is a dialogue, and dialogue leads to agreement. Okay? Now, is it every time the sun shines? Is it every time the sun shines? No. Sometimes it gives way for the moon. It gives way for the stars. Sometimes it gives ways for clouds to cover it up. He has to compromise. He wants to shine, yes, but he has to compromise so that the other person, the other party can also win. That the earth can win. So that animals can win. If the sun is shining on us all the time, it's supposed to be giving us vitamins, right? But when it's shining all the time, we will be tired of the sun, we will run away. We will not be able to cope, we will not be able to exist. So for us to be in agreement, for everything to be agreeing together, one party must compromise. Okay? So it is very, very important that we understand this. We run out of time, but I'll mention a few more points and then we come to a close. Dialogue requires your full attention. Dialogue, according to Bakhtin, dialogue requires your full attention. When there is a dialogue, we are involved. Our whole body, spirit, and soul, we are engaged. We are sold into it. Our mind is present. In other words, we need to be in the here and now when there is a dialogue. We need to be in the here and in the now. All right? When there's a dialogue. Life requires us to live in the moment. To live now. All right? While there is a plan for the future. Life requires for us to live now, to be present, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically present. Living now, while we are thinking also about the future, while we are planning for the future. Now, without living in the now, some people live in the past. They are burdened by what happened in their past. They are burdened by, the sins, the crimes they have committed in the past. Even as good as that is, it is robbing them of what they ought to be benefiting now, of what they ought to be doing right now. They ought not to be carried away by what has happened in their past, but they ought to be repenting now. They ought to be making amends now. They ought to be doing things in a better way now. All right? So, it is important that we understand these things about life. Okay? We have to be fully here now. Imagine that as I am speaking to you, my mind is also elsewhere. I will not be able to give you my best because life is a dialogue, and dialogue requires your full attention. It requires my full attention. I need to be here to be able to speak to you, to be able to give you the meaning, be able to give you the in-depth analysis, be able to talk to you in the way I should as well. Okay. Thank you guys for joining us today. Let's see what our friends are sharing with us. Okay. My wonderful wife is saying life requires us to live in the moment, but to be in the here and now. For an effective dialogue, you need to be fully engaged in the moment. Dialogue requires your full attention. Agreement requires compromise. Look at the sun, for example. It exists the stage for light. It exits the stage for other lights to the moon, stars, etc. Great. Thank you. Hello, Rachel Korituha. Thank you for joining us. I am sorry if I mispronounced your name, but I hope you are benefiting from the live broadcast. Rosette, thank you for joining us. Shedrack, thank you for joining us. Musenge Muachi, thank you for joining us. I don't know how to pronounce this name, but maybe it's Chol Kanat. Thank you for joining us. All right. Let's see what, okay. Sister June says here, problems and challenges are an opportunity to bring out the gifts, talents, and abilities God has given to us. So let us embrace them. Okay. The dialogue means to ask questions. The dialogue with our lips, hands, legs, eyes, ears, etc. David Sempala, thank you for joining us today. Thank you. Annette Namudu, thank you. Annette Atuhaire, thank you. Mulunda Nume, thank you. Oh, yes. We have come to the end of our talk. What have you benefited from this live broadcast? So all those that I have welcomed, please, I want you to make comments. I want you to say something. It's always interesting if we have a dialogue, you talk about, I have talked about something. I want you to also say your own view as well. Share what you have learned, share what you think, that's what make life. Without you sharing on the platform, it seems as if there is no life. Okay, so please, we want you to say something. Sister June said, since life is a dialogue, let us not push aside our children when they are asking questions. Yes, now you are talking. Many parents don't want to listen to the questions of their children. And maybe that's why many children are not growing, in their critical thinking. All right? And that is something that we need to do. Life is about dialogue. We need to dialogue. Okay? We need to, when a child asks a question, we need to think, what is going on in the mind of this child? We need to be able to analyze. Even not just answer the child, answer right away, but we need to listen. Yeah, let me hear more of your comments. Please write something. We are expecting you to say something. If you are here with us, share what you think. What have you learned today? What have you learned? Share with us. What have you learned? I am personally learning from you all. Okay? I'm learning from my wife as well, learning from Sister June. I've learned something also. So share. Tell me what you've learned today. Tell me what you've learned. That will give us. I want to just read one or two comments before we close the live broadcast. Okay. All right. If there are no comments, then well, I have waited. I have not received anything. Okay. In that wise, maybe we call it a day. Hope you have a wonderful weekend and enjoy yourselves and your family. Don't forget, life is a dialogue. Enjoy and then try to engage in having a dialogue. Dialogue is all about asking questions, listening, coming to an agreement, and being fully present while we are talking. Okay, now to count it all, I want us to really understand that God is the author of life, right? So if we are not, having a dialogue with the author of life, And that's something to think about as well. I want to encourage us all to have a dialogue with God. Okay? And that is what some people don't understand. But some people need to understand that prayer, for example, is not all about give me, give me, give me. Prayer actually is a dialogue. Having a dialogue with God. Okay? Okay, let's not get into much details because we're already finishing. All right, have a wonderful weekend ahead and enjoy yourself. Bye for now. There we go. Okay.